Alright, choir students, I'm going to do a review real quick of what is sight singing. We did talk about it a little bit today in class, but I would like to redo that lesson and give you a video to kind of walk you through and help you out. I asked you what sight singing was. You somewhat had a good response of being able to sing something, looking at it. Yeah, right. So the way we want to formally kind of describe that is being able to look at music we've never heard before in our whole life, apply our rhythm skills and our solfege skills to sing it. Okay? And by rhythm skills, I'm talking about our like ta, ti, ti, ta skills. And then also you see these, like, we got these beautiful solfege hands that we can use to help us sort of navigate pitches, right? We did that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, right? We use those. So how do we apply those to our actual sheet music? Well, here we go. The first thing is looking at, we see all these dots going upward. Great. What does that even mean, Miss G-Y? Well, we're going to say we're in the key of F. So if I give you an example and it says key of blah to start, and one day we'll explain this whole key of everything to you guys. But to get you started, let's get us a little bit comfortable with just sort of identifying how solfege works. So if we're in the key of F, that means that where the note F falls, that's the note that we're going to call do. That's our home base note. So for this example, I started us with a do. And a lot of our examples when we're first starting out will look like that, okay? Our first note being do. Well, if we know our first note is do, our next note's going to be re, and it just moves up a space. So it's moving up into the next, whatever note comes next, right? Like this little guy comes up there. So now it's re, right? It goes from this space into the next line. Then it's going to go into the next space because it's just taking a step up, walking up like a little ladder, right? So we get do, we get re, we go up to mi, right? And then we have fa, so, la, ti, do, right? That's us being like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? Those are our walk-ups. And if you notice, each of those notes now not just has a hand sign, not just has a position in our voice and where we hear it, but also has now a corresponding little note head, right, on a staff that helps us identify that. So if I look at the example below, we're looking at things that are moving stepwise. That means instead of jumping from do to mi, right? See how there's a note between do and mi, right? There's this little guy called re that's happening in between there. We're going to skip re. That would be a skip. But if I'm going a step, I'm going from do right next to re. Those are just a step, right? So these are steps that we have here. And they're closer together when we sing them, right? So if my first note in this example is do, our next note is going to go up to re, and then we have do again, right? And now it'll take a second to sing it, so I'd be like do, re, do. Those are steps, right? Do, re, do. The next version of a step, too, can be like 3 in a row that are chained, right, next to each other, but they're not, they don't have a note between them that we're missing. So like this one starts do, goes to re, and then has mi. All of those are in a row with each other, right? So therefore, they're also steps. Do, re, mi, right? And then we can also start and take those steps and come down. So this is the last example, right? We left on the note mi. We're actually starting on the note mi, kind of picking up where we were to return back to do, right? Let me get this mi, re, do, right? So those are notes that are going to be steps. They're all close together. Now, I'm going to go to our next one. These ones are a little bit wider, right? If you notice, I'm now going, instead of touching all of the space line, I'm now going like all of these spaces. So those are what we're calling skips, right? Skips or leaps, whichever one. Leaps sometimes scares me, I'm not going to lie to you, because leaps makes it sound like it's really far, and sometimes it is. That says leap, I promise. Sometimes it is really far, right? Going from do to so, or like do to the top do, those are like leaps, right? But skips more so going like do up to mi. Right? If I go from there, we're going to take this like skips, leaps kind of mentality. So I'm still starting with do, right? But instead of going to re next, I'm going to jump up, I'm going to skip and go to mi. Right? And then I'm skipping this invisible note that would be in that line, which would have been this guy, right? And we're going right to the note so. And then it's also coming down, going back to this mi, and then returning back to do. right? So I've got like do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. That has everything in a line. But if we go do, mi, sol, mi, do, we skipped re and fa, and we skip through that, right? Do, mi, sol, mi, do. We can also start anywhere inside a skip, right? So I can start on that sol, which is what I have going on here, right? Sol, mi, do, mi, do, right? So we can have these skips and we have leaps. And then we can do any type of mixing, which is what I'm showing down below. Right now we're mixing the two. Mixing steps, and I'm going to call them plus skips, right? And so I'm still starting on do. Some of our examples might look like this, where we have do, we get re, mi. But if I look between mi and so, there's a skip there, right? And I went from mi, I skipped over fa, and I went right to so. And then I have so again, because I stayed on the same note going across. But then we're going to go ahead and walk ourselves down. Now here's our buddy fa that we skipped. I'm going to walk myself down again. Mi. But then if I look here between mi and my last note, you'll notice I skipped re, right? And I went right to do, right? So if I'm going do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, mi, sol, sol, fa, mi, do, right? And I skipped that fa on the way up, and I skipped that re on the way down. And our music might do that sometimes. So we're getting used to sort of seeing these symbols and being to identify both. We got skips, we got leaps. How can we keep our solfege scale kind of so we know where do is to return back to? And then we can use that to like decipher our music. And then the last sort of part of this is when we tie it together with actual rhythm, right? So we've spent some time now going like ta, 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 right? Being my top line. Well, now you get to use that paired with these solfege skills that you have, right? So if our first note is going to be do again, we got do. Then my next note goes up a step. I've got this re. Then I get this beautiful mi, mi, re. And then I get this long do. And we might want to like do this to our do because we're holding our do forever. That's okay. Sometimes I've seen students like write it like this where they want to write it so that they make sure they hold it out. As long as you count that correctly, right? So if we have to give ourselves a steady thing, then we're going do, do, re, mi, mi, re, do. So we last the whole 4 beats of that. And now when we put it so it's more like a song, right? Same thing, I'll do this last example because now this is a little bit of a long video, but it runs you guys sort of through all these kind of sight singing basics and fundamentals. I think I just back in and finish this up. So our last line of this, we're gonna look at this final example. So this is kind of what we're looking for when you guys do it on Smart Music too, right? Is you'll have a rhythm like this. We want this do, mi, so, mi, and then lands on do. Right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol. So if I go do, mi, so, mi. Oh, so, mi, do. And I want to do that again because see, I have 4 quarter notes and I made a mistake there, but I go do, mi, so, mi, do. Right? So that way we're actually starting to piece together like short little melodies that you're singing that you've actually never heard before, but now you're going to be able to start deciphering them and turn them into whole songs. Okay? So sorry, that's a little bit of a long lesson, but it does catch you up in case you were lost with our sight singing stuff today.